up. We are doing the Sunday night hump here every Sunday night, 11 p.m. Central European time. We get together here to have discussion, talk about guitars and other things. Uh, and I always do appreciate you guys taking your time to do so. I like to start out every live stream pointing out the fact that time is a very valuable thing. And for you to spend a little bit of yours with me is really greatly appreciated. And I want to thank each and every one of you for doing so this evening. While we wait for more people to show up into the chat, I will chat about things that are going on here at Church to the Right Music Channel. Actually, just a moment ago, Mr. Watson, how you doing? How you doing? I was just watching what I like to call a pseudo documentary on YouTube just right now, right before I went live with you guys about Prince that popped up into my feed. Talk then, Kev. How you doing, sir? Good evening. Still no sign of the, but I'm sure it's on its way. Ben Allmark in the house. Good evening, sir. How you doing? I was watching this pseudo documentary. First of all, I find this is not a criticism, but I find that a lot of the more, let's say, scandalous or what I would say kind of wild accusational kind of documentaries come out of the UK. This was a British documentary, Prince, and his last 48 hours and what really killed him. Tall thing, Kev. What? No pedal? Yeah, not yet. But then again, you're dealing with the Dutch mail too. So and that Brexit thing does not help. So I'm sure it'll show up. Matty Two Hats, how you doing, sir? Good to have you in the house as always. And this doctor was on talking about, well, he could have died from, first it was cocaine, then it was painkillers, and then it was AIDS. At that point, I just turned it off. I was like, this is just ridiculous. They're throwing every National Enquirer accusation up against the wall to see if it sticks. And they're all silly. But it did show one of his artists, a woman by the name of Anna Fantastic, that I hadn't seen since the 80s. And my gosh, she's so beautiful. She is still absolutely gorgeous woman. Just absolutely. It was worth seeing that like I said, pseudo documentary on Prince's last 40 hours just to see Anna Fantastic. My God. That she's maybe just a few years younger than me, maybe around the same age, and my God, she looks just so great. Frederick Rogers in the house. How you doing? Angel says, why people cheat? I don't know. VI says, Trump or Harris? I live in Amsterdam. You're asking the wrong question. I'm in Europe right now. And anyway, but it was good to see her because she's just really pretty. And I just really, yes, Amsterdam. That is, we're coming to you live tonight from the city of Amsterdam. There was a time when I would say, I was in Japan. True story. I used to audition for doing TV commercials. And because I had an agent, they sent me out to do, hey, greetings, Ellen Dark Gray. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for all you guys showing up. And they wanted me to play, in this one audition I went for, they wanted me to play Tiger Woods. They actually took me to a training golf, like, where you hit the balls into the net, and filmed me with, a cap like this on, and for this TV commercial that they were shooting. Richie Rich, how you doing? Welcome. Utrecht. Hey, I know Utrecht is right down the way. And that was funny. So Obama, no. Tigers, yeah, I'll take that one. I didn't get the role, by the way. I still don't know why. I didn't schmooze enough with the director. But that's a true story. Yeah, we got enough people here in the chat to get started here tonight. But still, I'm curious. Well, I really seriously don't get into here in this community. Since we're all from all over the world, we got folks from Latin America, we got folks from the UK, we've had people from Egypt, from all over. So we don't really get into that kind of thing. Although I did see today that Trump went to a McDonald's and was making fries. I said, okay, that's a new angle on things. I found that to be entertaining. And I say at the very least, I find him entertaining. And I'll leave it at that. But tonight's discussion, why new gear releases are, this is kind of part two of last live stream's discussion about the concept of I'm good. I'm good is the channel motto we have here. This is a guitar gear related channel. I understand, but it's not a bad thing to talk about. I think him is way too weak and Trump is pretty good. Hey, I think that there are people out there who could certainly make arguments to support your thoughts on that. I cannot disagree. So not a bad thing to talk about. But we are a gear channel. We were really talking about, unless Harris or Trump start playing guitar. No, not AI. Bid Hallmark, V, thumbs up. Yeah, man. It's just again, like I said, with those guys, what's going on in the States, I'll say this much. My main concern would be economics, and that's just about everywhere. And that actually ties into tonight's discussion, so I can go in that direction. Thank you, V, for getting me a good jumping off point. It already comes down to economics. And, you have to ask yourself, which person do you feel in that situation brings the business acumen that's going to be needed in order to straighten things out that are progressing, that are going forward. Inflation certainly is something that we are all, have a good evening, V. Thank you. It's something that touches every aspect of our life. And that's what last week's discussion was about. When we were talking about the motto of this channel, I'm good, meaning I'm good with what I have. If there's something I want to get, now this is applying to gear, you can't do this with your groceries. But when it comes to gear, if there's something that I want, then I'll sell a piece of gear in order to come with the money in order to buy that at least partial part of, or maybe 100% of, depending upon what it is you're buying, before I'll buy something new. That's been the basic motto of this channel. It's not excess at all. This is the anti-excess channel. Even though, ironically, I am a part-time guitar dealer, so we have a lot of guitars that come through the channel, a lot of interesting things, but they literally just come through. Sometimes I have time to film them, sometimes I don't. But at least we get to discuss them and get an opportunity to see them out of the vintage stuff that comes through. But the inflation of things is apparent even in my business. One of the good things one of the things that any decent merchant would do is have a good eye for what's going on out in the market, and not just his or her own market, but also in the general world market. And because of these things, the wallets around with most folks are tightening up. With most folks, there are still those folks out there who are spending. I know somebody who went to an event this weekend that could be defined as nothing but excess. But for the regular folks, I think we're all tightening up. And one of the things that happens when you start to tighten up as a consumer is the marketing departments of different companies are called in. If that company's worth its salt, they should have a marketing department. And they try to convince you to buy things. Now, this is something, again, that's in general to all consumer goods. Tonight, specifically, we're talking about guitar and guitar related gear. However, there's been something that's been bothering me for a while. And that's why another place I want to jump off tonight with this discussion is the fact that I've been watching these gear release videos. We all get them on YouTube. They pop up in your feed. Fender's got a new something. This X, Y has a new something. What's that you say, Maddie? Maddie said, let's see these bots can talk guitars. Yeah, I'd like to live the day to see that. Taking my job writing music for TV commercials. Damn it, they're not going to take my live stream. I'm feeling good, Rebecca. Thank you so much. Lovely to have you in the live stream. Thank you so much for showing up. Everybody's doing fine. We're all good here. You're always welcome. I've been watching this stuff and I'm not interested. None of it really piques my interest. None of it really, it's a snooze, as I wrote in the title of tonight's subject. It's just really getting to be a snooze. It's not that, oh, I really don't want to spend money. Oh, I wish I could spend the money. That's pretty cool. I wish I could spend the money on that. It's not that kind of thought at all. It's actually quite next. And I find that fascinating because you would think that I would be the exact person that they would be marketing towards. Got engaged yesterday. Well, congratulations, Rebecca. Congratulations on the engagement. Everybody give a thumbs up on that to Rebecca. That's fantastic. Really good to hear. That's a blessing. Hello, bro. How deep your voice? You can try to make the deepest voice you can do. I don't quite have a James Earl Jones voice level, but yeah, I get pretty deep. You want to hear how deep I can get? Go to the description of this channel and click the link that's up there for Aoki, and you can hear me sing in all high and low voices. I have quite a range. Are you satisfied with your gear? Well, that's the thing. That's the question that you have to constantly ask yourself with professional, or if you're a hobbyist, am I satisfied? And mostly you should be, depending upon where you're at in this process. At my stage of the game, I'm actually shedding things. Again, that's where the concept of this channel, I'm good, the motto of this channel, I'm good, comes from. It's from really just, let's weed out the things that aren't necessary. Do we really have to have 10 guitars? Do we really have to have the latest pedal? And of course, when you start having that mindset, that's what leads to the mindset that when the advertising, when the new promotions start coming at you on YouTube and various other places, they really have, it's like sunlight the vampires, it's just, you just completely just don't want it. And that's true. Congratulations, Rebecca. Am I congratulating a bot? No, I don't think these are bots. I don't think so. But there are quite a few tonight in the feed that are interesting. That's all right. If they've taken enough interest to give me bots tonight, I'll take it because it only helps with my algorithm. So tonight, bots are welcome too. Chris Butler, so you don't need advertising clips of new gear. That's not a bot question. Hey, Chris, how you doing? Watson, we really need the 10 guitars. Yeah. I'm from India. Well, we've had people from India before. We'll see if that's real or not. But Chris, satisfied with your gear, and so you don't advertising clips of new gear. Well, they got to. And we're going to talk about why they have to do that. We're going to talk about a few things tonight. The motto here is I'm good, which means I'm content with what I've got. And I only buy new gear when something is worth it. Then I sell something else in order to make space. I just don't hoard gear for the sake of it. Now, with that said, today's live stream is a little bit of a hot take. It's a part two of last week's, last live stream, like I've said, but it didn't quite fit in with what I wanted to talk about specifically last week, so that's why I've split it into this discussion tonight. And that is, I think new releases, especially in the guitar world, have gotten pretty dull. But you know what? That might not be such a bad thing for your wallet, and here's why. The old McCartney PRSs are actually more valuable in terms of resale value than any of the more recent ones. And yet, one of the things that they'll say, I'm excluding the Southeast Asian ones. You'll say, well, it's the hardware on those older models. It's this, that, or the other, and they rival Gibsons in terms of holding their resale value. But there really is no difference in terms of the look, the design, the things of that nature between those guitars, the older McCartneys and the current ones. They're being kind of against. Chris Butler, you are welcome, sir. You know Hindi, brother? I do not. You know Ukraine? I do. I bet I don't know Ukrainian. Let's talk about also so it could be PR. We could be talking about Gibson. We could be talking about Fender. I've discussed my thoughts on Fender and particularly their American Pro series, though the American Pro and the American Pro 2. And how, let's be honest, there's no difference between those guitars and the Strats of yesteryear with slight variations on the theme. Fender, like many other companies, keep releasing their new iterations that are essentially the same guitar with maybe a few minor tweaks. New colors, sure. A slightly different pickup or neck profile, okay. But if you already have a Strat Telly, what's really the incentive to buy a new one? When it really cuts down to it, what's really the incentive there? Well, that thinned a lot of people out. I see. By the way, guys, for you who are not bots and do join in, do not forget to hit the like button. I do appreciate that as well. I don't know if you bots can hit the like button, but I appreciate it if you did. Now, it's not just Fender, of course, like I said. This trend is across a lot of brands, PRS, Gibson, even boutique builders. We're seeing more of the same, dressed up slightly in different packaging. When I went to the Vinendal Vintage Guitar Show, and I saw some of the boutique builders, and I filmed some of them. You can see it in the my regular content talking about Vinendal, this recent one in 2024. And this boutique builder had a beautiful Telecaster that he had done the pick guard in leather, And the other things that were a little bit more interesting, boutique-ish, I guess you could say. But it was still a variation of the same theme at the end of the day. These brands know what's. It's safer for them to make subtle updates to classic designs than to take a huge risk with something completely different that may not sell. Didn't sell, that they eventually had to steamroll over with God, it was a serious, I don't even know what you call that. It was a steamroller, a flat presser, and they just laid them out and just rolled over them. They didn't sell. There was a situation where they were trying to be inventive, but it just didn't really work with them. There is that. That is true. There's a huge risk with building something completely different, and these brands have built legacies on specific models. So there's only so far they can really honestly innovate without alienating their core buyers. It's just the truth of it. Um, you know, back in the 70s, why the Norland era Gibsons get such a bad rep is because they were changing some of the designs that the guys who were buying them since the 50s, 60s were not really liking. And aspects of those guitars that they thought that were very important. For example, I think during that time, the tenon, a long tenon to a short tenon to no tenon at all in this current standards. The bridge post going directly into the wood as opposed into studs was a prior innovation that got changed over to studs in the 70s. And again, these things that Gibson purists objected to. And of course, now they're standard. Even with the Asian copies, these are things that are now found on those guitars. Interestingly enough, the 70s Japanese guitars still had the long neck tenons. They still had the post going directly into the wood. So there is that. However, their Gibson counterparts in the 70s started not to have. But they couldn't stray too far because your core buyer, your core fan, is going to object to it. It's no different than with Star Wars. See, you thought I couldn't bring it up Star Wars somehow tonight? I knew I could sneak in there. You know, the current Star Wars is not as well received as the older Star Wars. And again, they tried to change things up maybe a little bit too much, and it got objected to. And it's the same thing with guitar gear. And so they can't really stray too far from the original recipe. It's like, again, I can give another example of Coke and New Coke. I don't know if any of you out there who are old enough to remember, there was a time when Coke changed its recipe. They said, this is the New Coke. And everybody just threw up their, oh, we don't want that. And it just completely bombed. And they eventually had to switch back to the original recipe. But again, these are examples in marketing in a lot of different things of the guitars where you stray too far from your core, audience, you can run into trouble. And Gibson and PRS and Fender, and as I pointed out, some boutique builders are really, really hemmed in by fact. Ben Allmark, yeah, all the same guitars with different names is getting annoying. Yeah, that's really what it is. Now, these brands built legacies on specific models, and they cannot innovate too far because they'll alienate their core buyers. Every year, there's a huge push to convince you that you need the latest and greatest model. The marketing top tier. They make you feel like the new release is something revolutionary. But after a while, it all starts to blend together. It really does. At least in my mind. I'm writing this from my view. Maybe some of you see it different. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Once you peel back the hype, you realize, wait a minute, this is just another Strat. The features they tout as game-changing are often just minor tweaks. And by the way, let me deviate on this term game-changing. I've pointed it out before, and for those of you who are new here tonight, I will point it out to you. Well, if you're not a bot, if you're an actual person with ears to hear, that anytime, and I don't care if this is guitars, which we're talking tonight, or anything on YouTube where somebody is reviewing it, if they say that this is a game changer, turn the channel, block that channel. Because I will be honest with you, that is not a legitimate agent presenting that information to you. To say something is a game changer is ridiculous. It is the kiss of death in my mind for you if you promote something to say this is a game changer, because very, 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 almost 99.9% of the time it is not. and how many things are a game changer. And as I pointed out before, if that's your game changer, then your game was pretty weak to start with. You know, I'm just saying. Just pointing it out there. So again, that kind of marketing. Don Juan in the house. How you doing, sir? I'm happy that you're here, Don Juan. We've got bots here tonight galore. We're trying to separate the bots from the real people tonight. Something I never thought I had to do on a live stream before. I find it amusing actually. So I'm with it. It's all right. Like this one. How can a blind person recognize a black person? I don't know. That's a great question. Um, I shouldn't say that. No, don't get me started. Um, but after a while, it all starts to blend together. Once you peel back the hype, you say, this is just another whatever. They create. Now, I talked about gas last week, or last live stream, as being, the dark side. Gas is a pathway to the dark side. Well, FOMO is too, fear of missing out. FOMO, fear of missing out, is also another pathway to the dark side. Uh, you know, but I think that FOMO is a dying thing because it's an echo chamber, really. And once you've heard those a few times, you're not really looking forward to hearing it again. And so I think this is a good thing. Yeah. Don Juan says, I hope everyone else is doing well too. We are. Thank you so much. You're always kind to show up, Don. All you guys, thank you so much for showing up. And it just, and again, if you start to develop this mindset where, again, I'm good, where, you just say, hey, wait a minute, this is just a variation of the same riff, then it doesn't work on you. It does not work. Robert says, what kind of guitar do you play? I currently am really, really super in love with a 1976 Greco Les Paul Black Beauty Custom, all original. That is the current one that when I go to practice, when I go to play, that is the one that I pick up. I've been writing lately, again, oddly enough, keep away from it. And so that's the one, and I love it. I don't know if I'll keep it. It is one of the guitars on sale here with my guitar dealership, small one. But if I could keep one right now, that is the current one that I like to. I'd be more than good with just that guitar. Now, here's some good news though. All this sameness means that you don't need to upgrade. You don't need to upgrade. I don't think I stressed this enough in our last live stream that I really think that if you own a solid guitar amp or pedal, you're in a good spot. You're not missing out on anything groundbreaking at this point. So you can hold on to your money. The Universal Audio pedals, the Ruby and those pedals, they've come out with a new one that is a copy of Dumble, I believe. No, I'm sorry, it's a copy of a Mark IV or Mark V. So they're starting to get into Mesa Boogie territory with those pedals. Those things, that's the last thing that excited me. And recently at the Vinendal show, I said I wouldn't buy one. I wouldn't pay more than $250, and I'm waiting for them to come down in price, and for a long time in euros. They hung around their original price of 385 euros. At the Vinendal show, I finally saw them for 100 euros less at 285, and it was still $35 more than I was willing, so I walked. That was an innovative thing that I saw, and that was the last, game changer. And I'm not really seeing that on anybody's pedal board. Even some of the pedal Reddit subforums that I subscribe to when people are showing off their pedal boards, I rarely, if ever, see that pedal. I don't. And so that line of Universal Audio pedals, I don't know who's playing. Would I like to get when they came out again? All the regular guys, were doing their demos of them and showing them off. I'm sure you guys can think back to that media blitz on the Universal Audio pedal. Even so much of the time, like I said, I was interested. Like I the Ruby. Now this Mesa Boogie one is in. And by the way, you wouldn't even know as a Mesa. The title of that one is terrible. A Ruby, I guess you could kind of figure out what that is, but but the new one is called Innovative or Innovation or something like that. It's just weird. It's a weird title. But even now at this point, again, like I said, something that was supposed to be so groundbreaking and so game changing, I don't see it anywhere that's being used by anyone that I peruse through on the internet. Um, Robert says, awesome. I have a Kino and a P90 Les Paul. I like the scale length. Yeah, I, just like so many other people, translated from playing Telecaster. I do have a Telecaster in there, a Fender, but again, these are guitars for sale. I went from playing the Telecasters for all of my recordings and all the TV commercial work I did to the Les Paul. It's kind of a standard, move. It's interesting, Clapton went from the Les Paul to the 335 to the Strat. I guess that's just another avenue you can go down. Ben Allmark, sounds like the Les Paul Custom isn't going anywhere though. I don't want it to be honest with you, I don't. But again, like I said, I have a business to run and I have bills to pay and for that business. And so I have to really weigh that out. I can't afford really I'm a catch and release guy. But seriously, I want to try to figure out a way to be able to hold on to that. Well, if you guys go to the link in the channel description to the Ask and No Can Camp and buy a single or an album, support this channel that way, then I can certainly raise enough to be able to hold on to that Les Paul Custom for myself because I would love to. It's a beauty. Gas and FOMO happen to everyone. Hard to avoid with all the marketing. And again, this channel I'm good is to really to be the antidote to that. To really give you clear and concise thought processes to why or how you can avoid that when it's put in your face. Don Juan, how is the Sunburst Squire Strat that you're working on? It's been a while since I've been here. Yeah, Don Juan. The Sunburst Squire Strat got finished. Then that was followed by a 1977 Greco Super that was just shot to hell that I restored. I restored that and traded that for Made in Mexico 2007 Candy Apple Red Telly, and which is currently sitting in the next room. The 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 old Affinity body that I was going to do a parts caster with, it's still all in parts. I have all the parts to do that. I just haven't got to that. I'm trying to find. The weather was so bad this summer that I couldn't get 3 days in a row where I could sit in my paint booth and paint the body. So that's where that's at. Once I can get it painted, I can put it together. It's just funny. But projects are there. Nice. Restoring the Greco. Yeah, it was a nice deal. $350 in, all in, including the shipping, buying it, and the restoration. And I got 800. Secondhand value is $800 on that Fender Made in Mexico from 2007. So I built value about $450 worth of value there by doing that restoration. And it was just to prove a point that's another way that you can trade. Get an older guitar, do the restoration yourself if you can, and then trade that up. It's an avenue that you can not coming out of your pocket, and it's a good one too when it does get completed. Um, if you got a solid guitar and pedal, you're in a great spot. You're not missing out on anything groundbreaking, so you can hold on to your money. Spend it on experiences. What do I mean by experiences? Um, this Wednesday night, I will go down here, a 15-minute walk from my place here to the Concert Gebouw here in Amsterdam, and I will see a full orchestra playing the music of John Williams. So that's why I have Star Wars on my mind, Star Wars music. That's a musical experience that if you haven't seen a full orchestra, I highly recommend if you're a producer, an engineer, or a musician to do. It will enrich you music in ways that I cannot describe. I learned orchestration sitting here for the last 20 years, sitting in that concert hall. And I learned orchestration so much so that I can apply it for my compositions. So experiences. Save your money for experiences. Lessons. There's a lot of good YouTube guitar teachers. Robert Baker has a course. Spend the money with Robert Baker. He's a decent guy, you know. Or even save for something outside of music, a holiday, or as the Dutch here say, a vakantie. It's their favorite word, vakantie. If you don't know any other Dutch words, learn that one. With inflation hitting everything, including the guitar market, now is not the time to be spending frivolously. Now is not the time to be spending frivolously. It's not, kids. It's really not. Prices for guitar amps and pedals are creeping up, but the actual product isn't drastically better than what you already have. You already got. You know, I've talked about 1x12s. If you come across a 1x12 somewhere, or a 1 by even down to a 1x10 somewhere cheap, buy it. If you can swing it, if you can figure out a way to pay for it and make it make sense. If you come across a Marshall stack with a Marshall head from the 70s, full stack, keep walking. And the reason I say that is because there are some things that if you don't have, you kind of would want to have. And I think that any musician, you can get a 1x12 or 1x10. It won't blow your neighbors out. And it's something that you should have because, again, it's just one of those things in your box that you should have. A good guitar is another thing. It doesn't have to be an expensive guitar. It can be a moderately inexpensive guitar. It doesn't have to be a fantastic guitar in terms of its price. It has to be a fantastic guitar in its quality and its build. I've demonstrated on this channel a great deal that that can be had at price points that would surprise you. Tools. Invest in tools that you need, again, like I said, to find guitars that you can restore, and maybe that's something that you can do in order to build up your guitar base, is by getting guitars cheap, rebuilding them, and selling them on and using those funds to get yourself something nice. Just some suggestions. Being selective and holding on to your cash is smart. Why waste $2,000 on a new Strat when your current Strat does just fine? Notice I said, sir. You know, I got a few Squier Strats here in the house, and I have had Fenders Strats. I've had Grecos. I'm about to have a Tokai coming in this month. And a Strat is a Strat is a Strat, kids. That's the conclusion I've come to. If you're in the market for something new, ask yourself, what do I actually need? Is there a gap in my setup? Again, that toolbox that I was kind of describing there. Or am I just failing to understand that I don't need the next new shiny thing. Think of gear as tools to solve a problem, not toys to collect. There was a saying that my good friend and Grammy nominated producer Jock Richmond, we've had on the channel a few times in the past, used to say all the time. He loved to say that he who dies with the most toys wins. He loved that saying. He dies with the most toys wins. Well, I don't exactly agree with that. I think that I think of gear as tools to solve a problem, not as toys to collect so that I can say, hey, I had, you know. Even George Benson is selling his guitar collection on Reverb. He's getting rid of it. He's keeping, I know he's keeping his favorite, one or two favorite, but the rest of it, he's letting that stuff go. So it's really not about, you know, collecting the most toys. It's about George Benson's gotten to the point where he's, I don't need all this stuff. I need one to play the occasional gig, and that's it. So don't fall for the new shiny thing. If your current gear does what you need, believe me, you're set. Another thing to consider, the used market. I've talked about the used market 1,000 times. I'll talk about it again tonight. With so many people chasing the latest releases, a lot of great, barely used gear ends up on the secondhand market. Okay? You can buy used, whatever, PRS, Fender, Gibson, in the secondhand market at a fraction of the price of what they're selling. You can dig a little deeper and go into the Japanese vintage market, and you can find yourself some incredible deals that you will be so happy that you did. So happy that you did. Another thing to consider is the used market. This is where you can find serious deals. Plus, when you buy used, you're often getting a guitar amp that's already been broken in, especially in the case of an amp. It takes about 30 hours to burn in a new speaker, and no, you just can't play music through. You know, some cats used to hook up, music through a loop pedal playing into their speaker and just let that play for hours and hours to break in the cone. Completely missing the point that you're breaking in the cone to settle to be in your style of playing, so that when you're personalizing, and that's something that amazes me that people do. I guess because many people actually have real tube amps, but anyway, or even solid states these days. Part of the problem there, but you're really personalizing that new speaker cone to yourself and to your style of playing. That's a truism. A little tidbit I throw out there. Steven in the house. All right, bringing the stacks. We were waiting for you to bring the stacks, man. What's up? How you doing, Steven? Bruno. Hey, Don Juan. The only guitar I added was an Ibanez. Semi-hollow. Bootleg 335. It was the only thing I felt missing. And I said, yeah. Okay, so 4 guitars, 1 bass for working on a project. Yeah, that's what I consider to be a band setup. 4 guitars and a bass. I include the in that, so it would be 4 guitars in total. Tagima, Bruno said. Don Juan, saving money instead. It's a great guitar too. Yeah, man. Like I said, the things that you can find out, the copies, the Ibanez, the Tokais, the Grecos, you'd be laughing. You'd be totally happy you found a good one. Matty Two Hats. True, give Fender another $2,000 or just rock a knockoff with new pickups and roll the fret yourself. The choice is yours. That's right. You get the tools in order to do that kind of work, and you're laughing, as my British friends say. Well, I'm British too by blood, but I think that I really highly recommend that you take a look at the used market, guys. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's a way to go. Should be chasing inspiration, by the way, not gear. I've never bought a guitar and said to myself, boy, I wish I could get that guitar because there's a song that I want to use it to write. No, I never had that thought. I wish I had a guitar right now so I could write this idea I have in my head. I could play it, work it out. But that could be any guitar. I'd have been happy to grab any guitar that was around at that moment. I didn't give a shit what it said on the headstock, whether it was acoustic or electric. And to have a guitar at moments like that when I had an idea, when I wanted to reach for an instrument, that was the inspiration was here, it wasn't the gear. The inspiration was here, it wasn't the gear. One of the reasons people chase new gears is because they're looking for inspiration. But I'm here to tell you, there's something else. But remember, gear doesn't make you a better player. It's the time you put into practice, songwriting, and playing live. That does it. I've done all three in my life to get to this point. And I will do one of those three that I can going forward. It's a time you put into practice and songwriting that really gives you the pathway to true inspiration. If you're feeling uninspired, maybe what you need isn't a new guitar, but a new challenge or a different creative approach. Start trying to play in a different style. One of the reasons why I got hired on to write music for TV commercials is that they could throw any style at me and I could come up with something, whether it was bossa nova, funk, rock, jazz, whatever. And if I didn't know it, I sure did look it up, research it, and come with a reasonable proximity. It was a challenge. And those are the challenges that made me a better player and a better all-around producer. Matty Two Hats says, I maxed out as guitars and a bass. Yeah, I couldn't care less about the brand now, so we know Matty. I sell Fender and Gibson to people all day. It means nothing if you don't put in the time. Yeah, I know, Matty. And me too. It's funny. Like I said, I went to that vintage show and I've guitar show, and I filmed those Les Paul Customs, the Gibsons, again from the 70s, the 2000s, I believe, the few that we shot, just so that I could hold it in my hand and I could say to myself when I came on and it hit that Greco, what am I really missing? And the answer was nothing. Nothing. And it's so much cheaper. And has a hard case. It's a original case. Steve Austin. I just bought a PV 150 watt for $80. It's just, yeah. If you come across, that's my buy recommendation out there. I don't throw them out there very often, but I'm telling you, 1x8s, maybe 1x8s. It's a decent one, but mostly 1x10, 1x12s. Snatch those up. If you come across them at a deal, if you got the cash in your pocket and you can make a deal right then, buy them. Because going forward, I foresee a market that there's really going to be a demand for those. Certainly, at the very least, for yourself, they're great to have, and they shouldn't disturb your neighbors if you live in a situation where you can't crank them all the way, but you could still make use of them. So a win-win there. Don Juan says, yes, all true, Mike. You got to work at it all. Time, consistency equals results. Say that again. Time and consistency equals results. Very true, sir. Very well said. A different creative approach is another suggestion. Again, that's really why, and this is the mindset that I have when I am then bombarded by these marketing commercials in some cases, in my opinion, no better than paid commercials. You know, when I worked in advertising media, and I knew the difference between an advertorial and a real story. I learned the difference. And a lot of these advertorials on YouTube for the latest whatever really just wash over my head now. They have no effect on me. I find them to be meh. And for the, again, like I said, for those, the regular suspects, you know who they are. You know who they are. We know who they are now. That say that this is the latest, you know, game changer. I laugh. I just have to laugh. And really, with the mindset of looking for the challenge not to be brought to you by getting a new piece of gear, but by really being commanding on the gear that you already have. You know, I saw this brother in Africa playing bass on, I don't even know what that brand of bass was. It's obviously an Indonesian, you know, knockoff. And an amp, a 112 amp, bass amp, maybe 2x12. And he was tearing it up. He was tearing it up. Okay? In ways, and you know, that I haven't heard in a while. I haven't heard that. And again, just showing you that, and you know, you really don't need a whole lot if you got it. And what you're trying to do, and it doesn't matter how old you are, is trying to get it. You're always trying to reach. It's what Miles Davis called reaching. You're always reaching. You gotta be reaching for that next level of playing ability, that next level of composition, where you're writing stuff. The stuff that I wrote now, I can look back at the stuff that I wrote before and kind of, you know, cringe a little bit, but I needed to write that stuff in order to get to where I'm in now. Some of that stuff is good that I did before, but I would do it even differently now. I've changed, I've elevated musically. Steve Austin, you get what you put in. Yes, sir. Ben Allmark, Don Juan, I absolutely agree with you. Bottom line is hard work pays off. The young folk nowadays aren't much for putting in the hard work in. Not all of them, mind you. I think it's fair to say, but a hell of a lot of them. Yeah. But something you gotta walk, Don Juan says, but sometimes you have to walk away for a little to clear your head, to get a different creative perspective on what you're working on to inspire you. Yeah, you know. If you don't have experiences, then what are you writing about? Everything that I've written in all of my compositions are real experiences of things that really happened to me. None of it is fantasy. Some of it are things that I heard about. I'm writing in the second person about something that I heard about in the life of someone else that made me want to write about it. But you have to get out there and live in order to have those kind of experiences. And certainly, that's where it starts. Man, two hats. Hey Mike, sorry random question, but I'm curious which mics you have in your studio. Again, I'm using the Behringer C1 and the B1 for acoustic, for like recording acoustic guitars, mandolin, SM57 is another one that I use. There's a picture on my feed here. It's either here on YouTube or on my Instagram, where you can see me setting up two mics in front of a 1x12. And it's Behringer and SM57. And for vocals, I use this phone right here. I've had this microphone for 20 some odd, maybe 25 years now. I got it at the Guitar Center in West Hollywood. It's a Russian made microphone. They don't make them anymore. Uh, it, it's ironic because it's Russian made and it's red. But anyway, this is one of the finest. It's a copy of um, of a popular microphone, vocal microphone. This is my vocal mic. I've never used every recording, every vocal recording, everything I've ever done has been on this microphone. So 4 mics in total. And microphones are the tools that I don't sell, obviously. If I have this is a company that's gone. It was just that day I was at the Guitar Center. The guy says, "Hey, we got these great mics in, and I bought one, and it's been my vocal mic forever, forever." So yeah, there's that. It's kind of like a U. It's copy. It's kind of like a U47 copy, if that makes any sense to you. Well, Don Juan, people want instant results because the technology that we have gives us instant results. Uh, you know, People use AI in order to write things. I try to resist it myself. When I write these scripts, I'll use the grammar and maybe sentence restructure just to make it if it's a clumsy sentence, but I try to write myself. But not a lot of people can do that. They can't write them, so they can't because they don't know how to. Because when I went to college, all I forgot was a typewriter. There was no computer in 1985, my freshman year in college, fall of '85. I had to use a friggin' typewriter, and guess what? I had to take typing classes in the 10th grade, I think it was, or something, maybe it's ninth grade or something like that, where it was mandatory typing classes in school, where you had a typing class, you had to learn how to use a friggin' typewriter. Anyway, I digress. Thanks. You get a great result with those mics. Again, yeah, Behringer C1 is a cheap mic. The B1 is a cheap mic. SM57s are called toilet paper, and this random mic that I have is just a good vocal mic. You find whatever one works for you, and you don't have to pay a lot. It's not a lot of money, and I've invested in microphones. And yet, I would say that my recordings are great. And, sure, you can go out and spend $2,000 and get a real, or I'm sorry, $4,000 and get a real U47, but this copy will do. These could thank you, Don. They'll do, and again, I'm good. I bought this in Guitar Center, okay, in the early 2000s, maybe not even yet, like 1999. And I'm good with this vocal mic since then. And I mean and it's been around the world. If you guys know, I've lived in 5 countries, okay, in my lifetimes for a period, at least in each country, of 2 to 3 years or more. And that mic I'm good. See, it's funny, we can't we're that way. There's certain things in our household that we've had for a long time. And we never thought to ourselves, let's go out and buy a new one because the newest one is out. We said, hey, I've got that already. I don't need another one. Okay? Why does that not extend over to your guitar or maybe other aspects of your life? Start asking yourself that question. All right. That's it for this evening. I think that I have beaten that subject to death tonight. Again, part 2 of last conversation tonight, why new gear releases are a snooze and why that's a good thing for your wallet. Good hang, guys. Don't forget to hit the like button. If you're watching this in the rerun, I would really love to hear from you down in the comment section. Comment section has been getting kind of blank these days. So if you could put in a comment down below, that would be greatly appreciated. I will always respond to each and every one of those. Again, support this channel. If you really do want to help support this channel, go to the link in the channel description and hit that. If you haven't subscribed yet to this channel and you like what you heard tonight, why don't you go ahead and subscribe and join this great community of guys. Every night, everybody shows up here when they can, and that's greatly appreciated. That's a great community. That's a real community, and I'd love to have you join. We'd love to have you join in on that. All right, guys. Until next week, you take care. Be safe. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.